Hey everyone, my name is Jake. I'm 26 years old, and I'm from Brazil. Just 5 months ago, I couldn't speak a single full sentence in English, not even "how are you," without thinking too much. I was completely lost. Today, I want to share how I learned English in just 5 months, without expensive classes, without living in an English-speaking country, and without wasting time on useless methods. This isn't just my story. It can be yours too. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or embarrassed because of your English, keep watching, because I was in the same place once. My journey didn't start with motivation. It started with failure. I had always dreamed of working for a big international company as a software engineer. I loved coding and worked very hard to improve. Finally, I got an interview with a big tech company in the U.S. I was so excited. I imagined my new life, a great job, good pay, and a bright future. But when the interview started, everything went wrong. The interviewers spoke so fast that I couldn't understand them. When they asked me to introduce myself, I panicked. I knew what to say in my mind, but the words didn't come out. I said, yes, I am on software. I do coding, many projects, good. The silence after that was painful. I failed the interview, not because I wasn't skilled, but because I couldn't speak English. That day, I realized how powerful English is. It's not just a language. It's a key to success. Without it, I couldn't open the door to my dreams. I felt ashamed and angry at myself. I had always told myself that English wasn't important, but now I saw the truth. Without it, I was invisible. That night, I decided to learn English, and I wanted to do it fast. Many people start learning English by paying for expensive courses, but I didn't do that. I had already tried them before, memorizing word lists, grammar rules, and doing boring exercises. But after months, I still couldn't speak. So I created my own method, a system that works in real life. In the first 15 days, I focused on one simple rule. Use the words I already knew instead of learning new ones. I made a list of 50 sentences I needed in daily life, like, "Hi, how are you? Can you repeat that? I don't understand," and "I need a coffee, please." Every morning, I read them out loud 10 times. At first, it was hard, but after a few days, they became natural. I also started talking to myself in English every day. When I took a shower, I said, "I'm taking a shower. The water is hot." When I made breakfast, I said, "I'm making eggs. I like eggs." At first, it felt strange, but it worked. And that's how my English journey truly began. At first, I felt stupid talking to myself in English, but then I realized that this was my private classroom. No one could hear me, and no one could judge me. After just 1 week, my brain started to think in English. I also practiced 5 new sentences every day, but with a special twist. I picked sentences from movies or real conversations and copied them exactly, the same emotion, speed, and pronunciation as the native speaker. This helped me improve my accent and sound more natural. By the end of the first 15 days, something amazing happened. I stopped translating in my head and could speak basic English confidently. But that was just the beginning. After 15 days, I moved to the next step, real practice. I wanted to have full conversations and understand native speakers without translating. I created a method I call the question-answer method. It's simple but powerful. First, I asked myself an easy question in English. Second, I answered it immediately without thinking too much. Third, I kept repeating the process with different answers. For example, when I asked, "What did you do today?" I first said, "I worked." Then I added details like, I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break and had coffee. This trained my brain to think and respond quickly in English. I also worked on my pronunciation using what I call the echo technique. I listened to short clips from movies, YouTube, or podcasts. After every sentence, I paused and repeated it exactly the same way, the same tone, speed, and emotion. For example, when a movie character said, I don't know what you're talking about, I copied it again and again until it sounded natural. I did this for 30 minutes every day, and after a month, my pronunciation improved so much that even native speakers said my English sounded natural. Then I worked on my vocabulary with the story method. Instead of memorizing word lists, I took 5 new words every day and made a short story using them. For example, with the words excited, invitation, party, arrive, and surprise, I made a story. I was very excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday party. I read it 10 times and used the words in real conversations. In 3 months, I learned over 1,000 new words without memorizing. To think in English, I started describing everything around me. For example, when walking outside, I'd say, the sky is blue, the weather is hot, I see people walking. I also asked myself questions in English, like, what am I doing right now? And answered, I am sitting and drinking coffee. Every night, I wrote a journal in English. At first, my sentences were simple, but they soon became more natural. After a few weeks, I realized something amazing. English words started coming to my mind automatically. I made one strict rule. I had to speak English for at least 2 hours every day. No excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I talked to myself. If I was busy, I spoke while cooking, cleaning, or walking. If I felt lazy, I reminded myself that English was my future. I couldn't quit. Finally, I focused on grammar and structure. I didn't want to just speak English. I wanted to speak it correctly and naturally. I paid attention to how native speakers formed their sentences. For example, I noticed it say, I have been learning English for 5 months, not, I am learning English for 5 months, which is what I learned in school. That's when I realized that real-life English is very different from what we learn in books. I started learning how people actually use grammar and tenses in real conversations. These small details made a big difference in making my English sound natural and fluent. I started writing down common sentence structures and used them in my daily practice. One of my biggest challenges was prepositions, like why we say on the bus but in the car or at night but in the morning. To fix this, I kept a small notebook and wrote down confusing prepositions with examples. Whenever I was unsure, I searched online or listened to how native speakers use them. I also began writing a daily diary in English. At first, it was simple. Today I went to work. I was tired. I ate pizza. It was good. But I wanted to sound more natural. So I started reading blogs, books, and news articles to see how native speakers wrote. Then I copied their style in my diary. One thing that helped me improve fast was shadowing. I watched videos of native speakers, put on my headphones, and repeated every word right after them, trying to match their speed and pronunciation. I did this for 20 minutes every day, and within weeks, my pronunciation improved a lot. Another great trick was watching English movies with subtitles. Instead of watching passively, I paused after each sentence and repeated it, focusing on tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. Slowly, my English started to sound more natural. At this point, I realized that English isn't just about grammar and words. It's also about confidence. Many people know English but are afraid to speak. I decided I would not fear making mistakes. I started speaking English everywhere, at work, in stores, with friends, even when I wasn't sure of every word. To my surprise, people understood me. They didn't laugh or judge me, and this gave me the confidence to continue. Then came my biggest fear, talking to native English speakers. I was scared they wouldn't understand me or that I would freeze. So I prepared myself. I wrote down 10 common conversation topics like, how was your day? Or what do you do for work? And practiced answering them fluently. Then I joined an online group where people from different countries practiced English together. At first, I was nervous, but soon I realized everyone was learning just like me. I made friends and practiced daily, and learning became fun. By the final stage of my journey, I felt real confidence. I was no longer the same person who failed his first interview. Through daily effort and the right mindset, I had completely transformed. One day, I looked in the mirror and spoke to myself in English, fluently, without hesitation or translation. It felt amazing. To test myself, I joined an online discussion with native speakers. I was nervous, but I reminded myself of how hard I'd worked. When I spoke, the words flowed easily. I understood everything, and people actually listened to me and asked for my opinion. That's when I knew I had achieved fluency. 5 months after starting my journey, I applied again for my dream job. This time, I wasn't the same Jake who had failed before. I walked into the interview confident and calm. I spoke clearly, answered every question, and truly owned the conversation. I could see that the interviewers were impressed, not just by my English, but by my effort and growth. A few days later, I received a call. Jake, congratulations. You got the job. I couldn't believe it. The same company that once rejected me now wanted me. My dream had finally come true, and I was started with a $5,000 salary per month. When I got the call saying I was hired with a $5,000 salary, more than I ever dreamed of, I stood there shaking, my eyes full of tears. The first thing I did was call my parents. Mom, Dad, I did it. I said. My mother started crying, and my father, who rarely shows emotion, simply said, "We always knew you could." That moment made me realize I wasn't just doing this for myself, but for them too. With my first salary, I bought my father a beautiful watch he had always wanted but never bought for himself. And for my mother, I bought a gold necklace. They tried to refuse, saying, "We don't need anything, son." But I said, "This is my way of saying thank you for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself." I learned many lessons during my journey to fluency. First, mindset is everything. If you believe you can't learn English, you won't. But if you believe you can, you'll find a way. Second, surround yourself with English. Change your phone's language, watch English videos, listen to songs, and think in English every day. Third, speak without fear. Mistakes are part of learning, and native speakers don't mind if you make them. They appreciate your effort. Fourth, practice active listening and shadowing. Repeat what you hear to improve your accent and fluency. Fifth, learn vocabulary through phrases, not just single words. Sixth, learn grammar naturally by listening and speaking instead of memorizing rules. And seventh, focus on consistency, not perfection. Practice a little every day. Even 10 minutes helps. You don't need expensive classes or a perfect environment. You just need the desire and discipline to keep going. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, speaking confidently, feeling proud, and seeing new opportunities. Start today. Speak, listen, and practice daily. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. So choose growth, choose success, and begin your journey now. If I can do it, you can too.